James Martineau, 1805 to 1900, was not just a theologian but a profound philosopher who sought to bridge the divide between faith and reason. He believed that morality was an intuitive force within every individual, not something imposed by religious doctrine. His teaching centered on personal conscience, moral integrity, and the evolving nature of human spirituality. In an era dominated by rigid religious institutions, Martineau's insights were revolutionary. Today, they continue to offer guidance for those seeking a more authentic and meaningful life. His philosophical approach did not advocate for a rejection of religion but rather for its refinement. He encouraged individuals to engage with their beliefs critically, integrating new knowledge and ethical insights into their spiritual lives. By doing so, Martineau laid the groundwork for a progressive and dynamic understanding of both faith and morality. 1. Moral intuition over dogma. Martineau's most defining belief was that morality is not dictated by religious institutions but arises from within. He rejected the idea of externally imposed moral codes and instead championed the power of personal conscience. For him, ethics were not about following rules blindly but about deeply understanding what is right and wrong. In a world where people often look to authority figures for guidance, Martineau reminds us that true morality comes from introspection. He challenges us to trust our inner voice and take responsibility for our actions. This lesson is particularly relevant today, as people navigate complex ethical dilemmas in a rapidly changing world. It encourages us to look beyond social norms and religious dictates and instead cultivate a strong inner sense of justice and morality. Developing this moral intuition requires continuous self-examination, intellectual honesty, and a commitment to ethical integrity in every aspect of life. Moreover, Martineau's philosophy suggests that moral growth is an ongoing process. By regularly questioning our beliefs and actions, we refine our ethical compass, ensuring that our morality is not stagnant but evolves in response to new experiences and understandings. 2. Faith and reason must coexist. Martineau rejected the notion that faith and reason were opposing forces. He argued that genuine faith is not about blind belief but about harmonizing religious conviction with intellectual inquiry. For him, skepticism and belief were not enemies but partners in the search for truth. This perspective is crucial in an age where science and religion are often seen as incompatible. Martineau's wisdom teaches us that one can be both rational and spiritual, using critical thinking to refine one's beliefs rather than abandoning them in the face of doubt. Balancing faith and reason requires an open mind and a willingness to question long-held assumptions. It involves engaging with different philosophical perspectives, scientific discoveries, and theological insights to form a well-rounded worldview. By embracing both faith and reason, individuals can develop a more profound understanding of existence and their place in the universe. Furthermore, Martineau believed that reason could enhance faith rather than diminish it. By examining religious beliefs through the lens of reason, individuals could arrive at a more profound and unshakable spirituality, one that is based not on fear or tradition, but on deeply considered conviction. 3. Personal responsibility in ethics. According to Martineau, ethical living is a personal duty, not something to be outsourced to religious or societal norms. He believed that people must actively engage in moral self-examination to determine the right course of action. In today's world, where moral responsibility is often shifted onto institutions, Martineau's call to personal accountability is more relevant than ever. Whether in business, politics, or daily interactions, his teachings encourage individuals to take ownership of their ethical choices. Living ethically requires courage, as it often means standing up for what is right, even when it is unpopular or inconvenient. Personal responsibility in ethics is about recognizing that our actions have consequences and striving to make decisions that contribute to the greater good. It also involves continuous learning and the willingness to adapt one's moral framework as new insights emerge. Martineau emphasized that true morality is not about obedience to external rules but about understanding the spirit behind ethical principles. He argued that people must develop their own moral reasoning rather than relying on institutions or authority figures to dictate their ethics. 4. The divine is found in human experience. Martineau moved away from the idea of a distant, authoritarian God and instead saw divinity in human experiences, moral struggles, and the beauty of existence. For him, spirituality was not about rituals but about a deep awareness of the sacred within life itself. This perspective offers a refreshing alternative to rigid religious practices. It encourages people to find the divine in everyday moments, acts of kindness, intellectual discoveries, and the profound connections we share with others. Recognizing the divine in human experience allows for a more inclusive and flexible approach to spirituality. It enables individuals to cultivate a sense of awe and reverence in daily life, whether through nature, art, relationships, or personal reflection. This lesson reminds us that spirituality is not confined to religious institutions but is interwoven with our lived experiences. By redefining divinity in this way, Martineau made spirituality accessible to all, regardless of their religious background. He suggested that sacredness is not something bestowed by religious authorities but something that each individual can experience through their engagement with life and their commitment to ethical living. 5. Character is the true measure of a person. Martineau placed great emphasis on the development of moral character. He believed that true greatness was not measured by wealth, status, or outward piety but by the depth of one's integrity and ethical consistency. In an age of social media influence and materialistic success, this lesson serves as a reminder of what truly matters. It urges us to cultivate virtues such as honesty, empathy, and resilience rather than seeking external validation. Character is built through the small, everyday choices we make. It is reflected in how we treat others, how we respond to adversity, and how we uphold our principles even when faced with challenges. Developing strong moral character requires self-discipline, humility, and a commitment to continuous self-improvement. For Martineau, character was the foundation of a meaningful life. He believed that a person's moral worth was determined not by their words or religious affiliations, but by their actions and the values they lived by. 6. Progress comes through individual growth. Martineau did not place his faith in political revolutions or institutional reforms alone. Instead, he believed that social progress was a byproduct of individual moral development. According to him, lasting change happens when people elevate their ethical consciousness. This lesson has profound implications for modern activism and social change. While systemic change is important, Martineau reminds us that the foundation of a better society lies in the moral evolution of individuals. True progress is achieved when individuals commit to self-improvement and ethical living. Societal advancements are ultimately reflections of personal growth, as individuals who act with integrity, compassion, and wisdom contribute to creating a more just and humane world. 7. Religion evolves with humanity. Unlike many of his contemporaries, Martineau believed that religious beliefs should develop alongside human knowledge and moral insights. He argued that faith should not be static but should grow as our understanding of the world expands. This idea is especially relevant today, as many people struggle with outdated religious doctrines that do not align with contemporary ethical standards. Martineau's vision encourages a flexible, evolving spirituality that remains relevant across generations. 8. Education as a moral endeavor. Martineau viewed education as more than just the accumulation of knowledge. It was a deeply moral endeavor aimed at refining both intellect and character. He believed that true education should cultivate wisdom, empathy, and ethical reasoning rather than just technical proficiency. In today's fast-paced world, where education is often reduced to a means for career advancement, this lesson reminds us of the deeper purpose of learning. Knowledge without ethical grounding can be dangerous, leading to manipulation, exploitation, or intellectual arrogance. A well-rounded education should encourage students to question assumptions, develop a strong moral compass, and use their knowledge for the greater good. For Martineau, an ideal education was one that harmonized scientific inquiry with moral philosophy. He saw no contradiction between learning about the natural world and contemplating ethical questions. This perspective is particularly relevant today as society wrestles with issues like artificial intelligence, genetic engineering, and climate change, areas where technological progress must be guided by ethical wisdom. By viewing education as a lifelong process of moral and intellectual growth, Martineau inspires us to seek not just information but deeper understanding, to read not just for facts but for insight, and to engage with knowledge in a way that makes us more compassionate and responsible members of society. 9. The power of silence and reflection. In a world that values constant productivity and external validation, Martineau's emphasis on silence and reflection feels revolutionary. He believed that deep moral and spiritual insights arise not from noise and distraction but from moments of quiet contemplation. Modern life bombards us with information, social media, news, advertisements, and endless entertainment. The result is often mental exhaustion and a loss of connection with our inner selves. Martineau's lesson urges us to reclaim silence as a tool for self-discovery. Silence allows us to hear our own conscience more clearly. It creates space for us to examine our beliefs, confront our fears, and refine our moral understanding. Without moments of solitude, we risk living reactively, shaped by external influences rather than our own deeply held values. Practicing reflection can take many forms: meditation, journaling, long walks, or simply sitting in quiet thought. Martineau's insight encourages us to incorporate these habits into our lives, recognizing that true wisdom comes not from endless activity but from the stillness where we can truly listen to ourselves. 10. True freedom lies in moral discipline. Martineau had a nuanced view of freedom. He did not see it as the unrestricted ability to do whatever one pleases, but rather as the capacity to make morally responsible choices. For him, true freedom required discipline, the ability to govern one's impulses and act in accordance with higher ethical principles. In today's world, freedom is often equated with personal autonomy and the absence of constraints. However, Martineau's perspective reminds us that without moral self-discipline, freedom can become self-destructive. A society where people act solely on impulse, without ethical consideration, descends into chaos rather than progress. This lesson applies to personal life as well. Many people struggle with addictions, distractions, and destructive habits, mistaking them for expressions of freedom when, in reality, they are forms of enslavement. Martineau's philosophy teaches that self-restraint is not about suppression but about mastery, the ability to align our actions with our highest values rather than our passing desires. True freedom, then, is not found in indulging every whim but in cultivating the strength to choose wisely, act justly, and live with purpose. By practicing moral discipline, we gain control over ourselves, allowing us to live more authentically and meaningfully. Conclusion: a legacy of ethical empowerment. James Martineau's life lessons offer a powerful blueprint for modern seekers. His emphasis on moral intuition, intellectual integrity, and spiritual evolution provides a timeless guide for navigating life's complexities. In a world filled with external pressures and conflicting ideologies, his teachings empower individuals to trust their conscience, embrace reason, and seek the divine in the depths of human experience. As we reflect on his wisdom, we are reminded that true faith is not about rigid adherence to doctrines but about a deeply personal and ever-evolving journey toward truth and moral clarity.